So today on the Poultry Nerds podcast, we are going to talk about how to start a breeding program. And to me, that is something that being a lifelong poultry enthusiast, you would think would be one of the simplest things. And it is until you actually realize what breeding is and what a breeding program looks like.
It is. And when you start off with some birds, you're really starting with somebody's culls. Because if they were keepers, they probably wouldn't sell them.
And see that for me is why it's a hard thing to figure out. We talked about on a previous episode where to start, with started birds, and a mature trio or something like that, or with hatching eggs. And I mean, it's kind of like a catch 22 because if you have started birds or a trio, unless it's somebody doing you a solid because they met you and they really like you and the gumption that you have towards your breed, which does happen, and they'll gift you birds. But like Jennifer said, when you buy a trio or pullets or young birds, juveniles, you're getting somebody's culls. They didn't want them in their program.
And that doesn't necessarily make them bad. That just means they were simply culled out of the person's program. They could be perfectly beautiful birds, but they have either one better, they have one that's slightly different that they want to mate with somebody else.
Yep.
So I mean, there's various reasons. We're not using the word cull in a bad connotation here.
Yeah, everybody thinks when somebody says cull, they're talking about whack their head off
Yeah, no,
and put
that's
it
not
into
it.
it. That's, for us, culling is simply removing from the breeding pen.
Yeah, so it could be something as simple as I have for this is an example. So this year I've decided to not hatch more than 50 Orpingtons. I'm doing very precise matings to get a certain answer. I'm looking for certain characteristics. So the first 50 are mine, and 51 and above are culls, just because I have decided I'm only keeping 50. So the 51st bird might be the international best Orpington of the universe. But because it was 51 instead of 50, I
You're
don't
going to
keep it.
move it over into 50 and pick 48 and stick it on the other side.
Well, I was using that as an example, but I'm
So,
calling
so what you're
everything
saying is you're only feeding out
50.
50 birds.
Correct.
Everything over that hatches is going to a new home.
Exactly.
Makes
Um,
sense.
so those are culls because it's more than I want to handle this year. And so that makes it a cull. Or he looked at me wrong. That makes it a cull. I mean, for whatever reason, a bird can be a cull. There's more
I mean, I've
reasons to
I've had them that I didn't like their personality.
right. There's more reasons to be a cull than there is a keeper. And
Oh
you
yeah,
could there's a slogan, is it a slogan or just a saying that you can cull yourself right out of birds. So
and if you're picky enough, you can.
right. So when I
Right.
first started, I was told that it takes 5 years to put a breeding program together. And I was like, what? But yes, I would fully get on board with that as a true statement. Now, I just want to preface this show here. When I was putting this slideshow together, this is not for show people only. This is for somebody starting out with birds of any species and any quality, any purpose. Doesn't matter. But when you put two birds together, you're breeding them. for whatever your purpose is. So your purpose could be meat, could be for eggs, could be for yard candy, bug control, selling at the feed store, or taking them to a show. Whatever your purpose is, it doesn't matter. It's your purpose.
Mhm.
But you still have to breed them. So this slideshow I put together was to kind of give you a platform to jump off of, basically.
Yep.
All right.
I like it.
Good. I'm glad that you like it.
Oh, this part right here is extremely important. You need to look at all the birds you can, all the turkeys, all the chickens, large fowl, small fowl, regular fowl, even look at the little moderns. And you've got to figure out which one you love. And once you fall in love with a bird, I would recommend if if you want to get some chickens for eggs, then that's your goal. Fine, do that. But if you're wanting to get something other than just for an egg, I would suggest you go to a show. And even if you could care less about showing birds, you're going to get a large, hopefully, representation of all the birds that are in your area, birds that live and can function in your climate, and you can see, what's there. And you can look and see if it's an Orpington and you want a 10 to 15 pound chicken, or do you want something that eats a little less on your feed bill?
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to do, is be familiar with them and pick something that you absolutely love. And once you find that bird or that species that you love, then it's time to look at gold, I think.
Well, let me interject two things here. One is size. 100% of the people that come here to pick up birds are shocked at the size of my Orpingtons.
Mm-hmm.
And so make sure that if you do want utility birds, meaning eggs and bug eaters, that you get utility size birds. You
Right.
don't need a bird the size that I have. I mean, when they're as big as the goats, you've got to put that into perspective. And then the second thing is personality. You don't, if you have toddlers running around, you don't want what they call man eaters. You want something that you can trust the 2-year-old to go in there and get eggs. And so
Man fighters.
personalities have to match. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's important.
so I send my grandson in to get eggs for me, and he'll go right in the turkey coop. I won't let him mess with broodies, but anything else, nobody bothers him in any of my coops, because they won't be here tomorrow if they do. So personality is important, and some birds are more flighty than others. But I should have put that header as breed/species, because I think, well, I'm not going to say I think, I know that since I have started telling people that I don't have a fly problem, I don't have a mosquito problem, because the ducks free range, I think more people are actually looking to ducks. And
Well, I mean, they give you a big egg.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want some eggs, I mean, you'll have to look for them. It'll be like Easter every time you go look for eggs.
True.
But they're short. They don't fly much. And, they forage. So
Yeah, you really don't have
yeah,
to
you
feed
need
them a
to,
lot.
I was going to say, yeah, you have to feed them, but they're not going to eat a lot. So
So I have it just for perspective. Of course, mine free range and they have a pond, but I have, what do you think, about 60, 70 ducks out there? And
easy.
I throw them 2 scoops of feed out in the morning, and that's it.
And there's still some left.
Mm-hmm. So don't think you have to stick with chickens. Look at your I actually got my Welshes from a lady who lived in town and had like a 3-foot picket fence.
I mean, so that makes a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I will say, once ducks are like chickens and other poultry in the sense that once they get used to you and they're comfortable and happy being around you, they don't know what personal space is.
Oh yeah, the ducks have no idea what personal space is.
So they'll get all up in your business. Let's see what is on the next slide. This is right. Learn the details. So you do need a basic understanding of the breed traits to speak to breeders. Don't go talk to a breeder if you don't know about the chicken. Once you pick out, or duck or whatever, once you pick out what you want, learn about it. Do your homework, because like me personally, if somebody approaches me about my reds and they don't really know a whole lot about reds, I'm thinking I got a flipper here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to sell them one of my birds. So that's a thing. People call it gatekeeping, call it whatever you want, but there's been over 90 years worth of effort put into my line of reds, and I don't take that lightly. The person that I got them from knew that I wouldn't take it lightly, and they knew that I would continue them on and be true with them. And if that is your intent and you want a specific breed or type, you need to do your homework and learn about it first before you go looking for a breeder, someone to source some birds for. Because I can guarantee you it's not going to be the person 5-10 minutes up the road. And if you approach somebody and offer them $5 for a bird, that's an insult. We spend a lot in feed. We spend a lot of time sourcing, selecting, working with, pairing up, moving around, maintaining pens, and all that stuff. That I mean, I wouldn't give you a chick out of the hatcher for $5.
Well, and even if it's just an egg layer, but you know that you want an Orpington, or you know that this is a breast in the picture, and I put him up there for a reason. But
Because he's a good looking boy.
well, he is, but breasts have a very distinctive feature. And off the top of my head, I think they're the only ones with that feature. Blue legs. Does anybody else have blue legs?
Well, I mean, there's some gamefowl that have the slate colored blue legs.
Okay.
There's some other large fowl that have them, but number one, it's not common. That is correct. Number two, if somebody tells you they have an American breast and it has anything other than the gray or blue legs, not eggs, they're creamy colored. But if it's got anything other than the darker colored legs, that is not a clean line of American breasts.
Right.
So
you can have, I mean, if you came to buy breasts from me, I would tell you that I do have a little bit of color leakage in the shoulders, and a good breeder, in my opinion, will know that the faults in their lines, and then they'll be honest about them. So I will tell you that, but I'm not breeding them to take to a show floor. I'm breeding them for meat for the freezer. And you don't eat discolored feathers on the shoulders. It doesn't matter to me. Now, ultimately, down the road, I mean, I would select a way for it, but type is always going to be first. But if you were going to, say, invest, and breast is an investment, because it should be one of those things where you purchased one time and you have meat forever, essentially. You want to make sure that you are buying breast birds with that investment money. And you need a basic understanding when you go to the breeder to pick them up. And if they don't have blue legs, except for young ones, now they're not hatched with blue legs, but they get them around between 2 and 3 weeks. So if you go though and their breeders don't have blue legs, then you're not buying breast chickens. And just turn around and walk away. It's okay to say no thank you and walk away.
And it's okay to not buy breast chicks straight out of the hatcher.
That's a true statement.
If that's what you want, you want to roll the dice, figure out a way to delay going a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And you'll see the legs start to go. But in doing that, they may run out.
Right.
I mean, I've hatched out as many as 100 before at one time or more. And I didn't have any within a week.
Right.
And that's because one person wanted a large amount, but due to the distance that he had to travel, he had to wait till the weekend. And, it is what it is, but you do what you want to do to get your goals. Yeah.
So, but all breeds have characteristics that are a given. So my Orpingtons have pinkish white skin, white, but the males can have pink. Their hormones cause their legs to turn pink. Well, and then the Cochins had yellow legs, yellow skin. And so we're not saying you need to be an expert on the breed, but just, write down, say, 5 physical characteristics of what that bird should look like on a sticky note and take it with you. And if it's not what you want, then say no thank you and walk away. If it doesn't matter to you, that's fine. I mean, it's going to be your yard. But if you want this particular thing, then write down at least 5 physical characteristics of that bird. So you wouldn't want to go buy a Brahma, say, with a single comb, or an Orpington with a pea comb. It's not going to be right. So just be familiar enough with general characteristics when you go shopping.
And look, seriously, if egg layers is all you care about, then just find a chicken person and say, hey, I'm looking for some good egg layers. What you got? And if that's all you want, then, they'll be like, okay, let me pick out the hens that I have that are the furthest that I should have already gotten off my feed bill, and let me hook this person up. Now, you will get a deal like that. But, yeah. So finding a breeder, that's the hard part, probably, is finding one.
It is. It's the very hardest part.
Because like you have up here at the top line, patience is key. And me, for example, I'm not a patient person. That's not my strong point.
Also be prepared to transport. Either do it personally or pay somebody for transport. Now, of course, now we're talking about higher end stuff here. You may not want to pay for transport of backyard mixes, but
go to Tractor Supply and get those.
I got my Cochins in from way far up north, and I got my Orpingtons in Alabama, actually. And but I don't travel anymore here, like for birds and stuff, and people come to me for birds, and it's always interesting people's perception of transportation. So some people will think 30 minutes is too far to drive and pick something up. And then I've had people make whole weekends out of it to come pick birds up, and I'll sell them birds from several states away. I had somebody here just the other day that drove over 4 hours just to pick up 8 quail hens.
So I'll say this. I have a pair of birds that I do need to go pick up. It is the first time I brought anything onto my property in quite a while. And I've got it pulling up on my maps here. But last I can remember, it was about 13 hours.
What?
One way.
Yeah. I mean, but to get what you want, that's what you do.
I mean, I'm going like San Antonio area from central Alabama, like Birmingham's 877 miles one way.
Mhm. Well, do
but
some bird transport, make some money back.
well, I have multiple purposes for needing to go out there. It's not just one thing that I'm going for. I'm going to see if I can't cook up a distribution point out that way.
Mm.
So it's a
Business
multi-tiered.
expense.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
All right. And so if you are wanting to get like a very specific breed, then start with the best genetics you can find. But when I say best genetics, that means the best for how you want to breed. So, and I know that I pick on Orpingtons, but that's what I'm most familiar with. So you can have standard bred Orpingtons, utility Orpingtons, or even English style Orpingtons. So make sure that you know the difference between those three and get the genetics that you're after. If you want to show, then you have to go to standard. If you just want Orpingtons in your yard, you probably just want English or utility. And if you want that big floofy fun, fluff out in the yard, and we call it yard candy here, that would be English Orpington.
So do the English Orpingtons cluck and crow with a British accent?
Yes,
What
they
makes
do.
what makes them English?
They cock their head slightly to to look down at you.
Do they put their right toe out?
They hold their pinky up in the air when they drink tea, though.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
If I were to ever get rid of my standards, which I really don't see that happening, but should I ever, I have had lemon cuckoo English Orpingtons in the past and absolutely loved them. And every time I see Sheila's come up on my Facebook feed, I'm just like, oh, I just need some. So
I mean, that's how I feel when I see an emu.
Oh,
but I still don't have an emu, so
we had
we
it.
have to control ourselves.
Oh, I don't want to. They're so pretty, lemon cuckoo. The one I had before you, it was a male, and we named him Fabio because his butt feathers curled,
Oh,
and he
wow.
looked like big curls, and yeah, and he was huge. Like he is every bit as big as this boy I got out here. I mean, yeah,
Fabio.
Fabio.
Yeah. All right.
All right, what's next?
Start with the best thing you can find and afford.
Yeah.
I will say that when you start with birds, like a proven trio or a proven pair, it's not going to be cheap. But, like we talked about 5-10 minutes ago when we were talking about time frames and 5 years. Well, if you pick out and get that good pair or that good trio, you're advancing 2 to 4 years in your program.
Mm-hmm.
So that
cheaper
kind of comes
yeah.
with a trade-off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to multiply.
Yes.
It's all about the numbers. If you start with a pair, I would say hatch every egg you get.
Yes.
You're going to hatch probably a couple hundred.
Yes.
And that gets in the feed bill a little bit. But, the first ones you hatch, and it's probably going to take a couple of years to do that. But you're going to be hatching out everything you can that first year. And then once they mature, you're going to say, okay, do I like you better or your parents? And if the answer is the parents, then you set that one over to the side. And you go through all of them with that comparative thing. And the ones that you like that are almost like the parents or almost as good as, then you kind of use those to weed out the others. And then you start selecting for traits. And, okay, well, let me put these together. And, you may, if you hatch out 100, 200, you might wind up with 20 birds, maybe 30 that are good. You may get lucky and hatch out 100 that are great, but that don't happen every day. So I don't want anybody to be upset.
But you do need to get numbers on the ground.
Yep.
Just birds want to die, birds want to be sick, birds you bring in are going to be stressed.
Yep.
You've got to make sure your investment is covered, and that insurance is chicks.
Yep. You gotta get all of them you can. And especially that first year, you're going to want to grow them out because you need to see them at least 6-8 months old before you compare them to their parents and make your selection for what you're going to put together for next year. And then that second year, you'll be able to hatch out a whole lot more, and you'll be able to fine tune your selection a little bit more too. But that's why, we say 5 years. And it really depends on what you start with, because if you start out with that, I'm not going to say perfect pair, but dang near it. Then at that point you are 2 to 4 years ahead of the game, and you just need size. You just need a lot of chickens to be able to fine tune your program and really make your selection for the best.
And don't forget to keep them in a couple of locations in your yard. Never keep them all in the same place, just in case you have a predator issue, a storm issue, just for sickness. It doesn't matter. Make sure you've got them in at least 2 different places to secure your investment.
Yeah, and in those 2 locations, I guess we probably should have talked about this when we're talking about picking something out. If you're limited in space and you're not very creative with grow out pens and building stuff and putting things together, then I would probably select a smaller bird. I wouldn't say, well, let's get some bourbon reds and start working with those, because you need a pen that's 10 by 10 for like 2 of them. 3 tops. So you need a lot of space for those. If it may be, if you don't have a lot of space, you may need bantams to work with so you can get those numbers, so you can get to the results that you want to have. But like she said, you need to have at least 2 different pens. I like to have at least 3, because I like to have a lot of males by themselves on one side of the yard, females on the other side of the yard, and then some mixed in the middle. That way, if somebody gets all your roosters, they didn't get all your hens, and then you go to the pen that's got both and get a rooster out, put them with the hens, and you can make more or whatever. Always have a backup plan, because like we said earlier, if you spend that money and you drive 877 miles one way to go get them, then it's going to hurt you in the heart, in the wallet, and everywhere else if they wipe out one of your pens. And storms, like she said earlier, that's another thing, because we've had friends that have had tornadoes come and just literally tear up everything.
Hurricanes.
I know one guy that had he not had literally eggs in his incubator, he would have lost all his genetics when a tornado came through.
Mm.
So, you know, keep them out there. Yeah, he had gotten to a point where he was happy with his birds, but he said that he always kept some in his cooler to keep them about 63, 65 degrees. And he always kept some in his incubator. He said, if I didn't need them, I mean, who don't want chicks, right? So they're easy to get rid of. But if anything happened, because he did not have a lot of space, if anything happened, he was prepared. So, yeah, multiply your investment. The APA, standard of perfection, that's going to be, if you're wanting a bird and you don't know everything about it, that would be a good thing, a good place to start, because you can find out what a standard bred one's supposed to be, supposed to look like. Also, if you haven't been a chicken person in the past, check out the first 33 pages of Standard Perfection. And there you'll find out what a pea comb is, what a rose comb is, what a split wing is, all kinds of
Yes.
weird terms.
You can learn more in the first 33 pages of that book than 33 days on Facebook.
In any of the chicken groups.
It's all of them combined.
Now, you'll get a lot of information out of some of the chicken groups, and some of them you'll get more accurate information than others, but breed-specific terms, actual definitions that you're looking for, you're going to get them out of that first 33 pages to where you can learn exactly what it is when people use those terms and what they're talking about. So, to me, that's a valuable tool. Because once you figure out what you want to do and what you want to work with and all that stuff, I mean, go down the rabbit hole and learn about chickens. You're here. So you obviously like poultry, or at least curious. So continue down the rabbit hole.
Breed clubs are the next.
Definitely check out your breed clubs.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, if you find out that there's more than one breed club, or a particular breed, and it's not like a northern region, an eastern region, a southern region, but it's like multiple of the same breed clubs, then you want to go in and be on the lookout.
Yeah.
Check out the group, check out the people, and see who they are, what they have, and all that good stuff. Do your homework. Because we would love to think that there are absolutely amazing people in the chicken world, and there is. But unfortunately, in the chicken world, even, there's some people that are other people's culls. And there's people that have ill intent.
Yes.
So we want you to do your homework. Don't ask somebody else until you get to a point where you can trust that person. Do your own research until you reach that point where you built that relationship, and be smart. And I'm not trying to scare anybody away, but I had somebody tell me a long time ago, you better watch out in this world. And I'm not going to say which particular world it was, but look, I got teenagers. I thought I could handle messiness. Let me tell you, ain't nothing worse than an angry chicken person.
No.
Like, that's messiness waiting to happen. So check out the APA.
How about angry mini chicken people?
Oh, yeah. That's even worse. But right here we got the American Bantam Association. Hey, Bantam folks take their birds serious. Dynamite does come in a small package, and I had one tell me the good thing about them is I don't have to feed them as much.
That's true.
Or I can have more.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, that is a good idea. But You know, Bantams have their standard. Look in it. If you choose some type of gamefowl, they have a standard. I think turkeys, most of those can be found in the APA standard.
Yeah. Saramas
Um,
have their own, I think.
Saramas have their own, which that's just because they're different.
They're very different. They're interesting. So
Yep.
let's see.
Please, folks. I'm gonna tell y'all this. Learn what the bird should look like and learn the building blocks of how to get it there. But if you don't want to if you're no interest in being a breeder, you don't care what your birds look like, you just want eggs, please do not try to get and commit to memory the difference between phenotype and genotype.
Right.
You'll find yourself with a migraine that's more confusing than the color pattern of DNA string in front of you.
So the easy way to tell the difference between the two is phenotype starts with P, so it's pretty. That's how it looks. Physical, however you want to remember it. And genotype is the genes. And so just remember it that way. But phenotype is like if you went to a show, it's judged on how it looks. Okay. Genotype, though, that's how you get there. And I don't know that anybody can 100% mate a bird every single time and get the expected answer. There's too many gene combinations. Now, as the line gets tighter, yes, you can gauge closer. Like in the turkeys, my line is getting very, very tight in the turkeys, and I'm almost where I want to be. So I can see like exactly. I can see pretty close to exact how it's going to come out. But the rest of it is just layers on layers on layers, and you have to understand it and study it. And I have
deep down a rabbit hole.
Yes. And so I put together some resources here for you to, if you want to delve into genetics and how to put them together. These people, Kenny Triano, can tell you how to physically put them together.
He's got a Breeders Academy where he's put together all kinds of resources. Breaks it down. I mean, you're going to have to do some reading, but he breaks it down how to do it, what to put together.
And
Brian
he has a
Reeder,
podcast.
Yeah, he's got a podcast too. Brian has some good resources out there. Now, this other person.
All right, wait. Brian wrote a book and has a YouTube now. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he does colors, right? Color genetics. Okay. Singrid is color genetics. She has written some books. I have them. They're a great resource.
That must have been in your English Orpington days.
No, she does them all, but she I mean, I don't have it. I don't think I have her book laying here on my desk right here, but there's other
It's on
books.
that shelf right behind you.
Yeah. They're pricey. See if you can find them on eBay. She also has a Facebook group. She's pretty active in there, and she can help you. It's called Chicken Colors and Genetics.
Yeah, that is a good group.
And then you have your mentors. So when we say mentors, like Gina is a common face on Poultry Nerds. So she would be somebody who could mentor if, you were interested in the same breeds that she has. The thing with mentors, and I have some, they're only as good as they feel like they're not wasting their time. So the one that helps me with my buff genetics, I'm the only one he helps because he said I'm the only one that pays attention. So if you're going to ask somebody questions, which takes up their time and their knowledge, then be polite and listen.
Yeah.
Um, if you decide halfway through the explanation that this isn't for you, then be polite about it and either stop them so they don't waste their time, or just politely listen until the end of the sentence and then say thank you. Um,
Yeah,
but
because like a lot of folks do that because they love the birds and they're passionate about it. But if you waste their time, they'll be through with you pretty fast.
yeah, yeah. And to get solid information is priceless, really. So this is just an example. So I spent a lot of time learning about incubation. I mean, I had to study, I had to go to these classes, I had to do all these things. And I do help people all the time in our incubation masterclass Facebook group, but I only have so much time in the day for me, and people message me and email me all day long, and literally with the coupon they can get the information for $8. So there's a point where I have to say to myself, for me, myself, if it's not worth $8 to you, you know, like what's the value of these questions that you're asking me? I took the time and we put all of this stuff together for you that you could get solid information.
I
What's
mean,
the
you
value?
did more than I did because you actually took a college course
Yeah.
and spent hours upon hours doing research and stuff like that for the course.
Mhm.
And that's a lot. So when you ask folks questions, you be nice to them.
Mhm.
And one thing that really bothers people is, and I'll say this, when you ask them questions or ask for help and then argue with them.
Yeah, I've gotten really good about just deleting the conversation. I just, you know, uh, people who come here and they like spend any kind of time with me here, at the end of the day, they'll be like, "How in the world do you do all of that?" And I'm like, "Well, you have to have boundaries." And I people who
You
argue with
love what you
me.
do.
Mhm.
And, for me, it was really hard to establish boundaries because I wanted everybody to like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I realized finally my wife convinced me that I'm not the most likable person. I can be pretty blunt sometimes. I know it's a shocker. But she convinced me of that. And, I tell people straight up, I say, look, I'm going to tell you about my personality and I'm going to work with you as long as you're working in with me. But when it gets to a point where I care more than you care, there's a problem. And I'll be done.
Right.
And, they understand that.
So those are these we kind of got it a little bit digressed, but essentially what we're talking about is mentoring.
Mhm.
Because we do help a lot of people, and it does take time. So just be respectful of people's time when you ask them for help.
And hey, I'll say this. I love all of our listeners. I
Hmm.
do. Um, but keep in mind that we love you individually, but there are a lot of you.
Yes.
So when you send us an email or when you send us a message on Facebook or something like that, if we don't respond within 5 minutes, don't be upset. There's times that I don't even respond to my wife that fast. So, I mean, like earlier today, at one point, I had to stop and look for my phone because I didn't know where it was. That's how long it had been gone, and I hadn't heard it. So,
Well, so last Saturday, I was sorting buttons, breeders, and my phone wouldn't stop. So I had to put it on Do Not Disturb. Um,
Hey, when you're
so
sorting birds, especially them little cute little suckers that make the crazy little noise, um, it's a delicate task.
it is, and I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. And,
So
that's why we
did
do
you
it.
have the opera music playing too?
Actually, I had some 80s hair band music. Oh,
Nice.
I
Even
know.
better.
Yeah, some Poison and Guns N' Roses. Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so lastly, don't forget that there are a lot of research papers out there. And just to add to the incubation masterclass, I added as many research paper links and PDFs into that as I used. I kept all of those links and put them in there so you wouldn't have to go searching for them. Ross, Cobb, Van Trest, those are all the big meat bird producers. A lot of their stuff is public information. So I want to digress for 1 second here. Actually, this subject for this podcast was another listener request. We're getting pretty good at those. And she wanted to develop a breed, her own chickens that were smaller but laid larger eggs because she wanted to feed them less, take up less space, but she still wanted that large egg. And she was asking me, like, how could she do that? And where could she go for those resources? So in her particular situation where it didn't matter what the color was, the skin color was, the all of those things, we were going to not look to the APA or the ABA. We're going to be looking into production, and that would be where this research would come in, and the Ross and Cobb would come in, and Avignon in Europe is really big on that too. Avignon. Um, so I sent her down those rabbit holes there. But Genetics of the Chicken, that's an oldie but great book. I actually own that. It's right here. And Poultry Breeding and Genetics by Crawford is right here also. So I would recommend those. But there's lots of good books. You don't have to get today information on a lot of that stuff. Um, you know, 40
I mean,
years
they've been
ago
doing
would be
that.
fine. Yeah.
They've been doing that a long time.
The stuff that you want up to date about would be more incubation because the machinery is always changing.
Mhm.
And then the meat bird stuff. And then also keep in mind that the money drives stuff. So the more money to be made in a subject, the more research there is about it. So if you want to know what the egg size of a modern game bird should be, you're probably not going to find any money behind that research. But you want to know what the ideal egg size of a Ross 500 broiler is going to be, then there's probably $1 billion of research behind that.
And it's a little different than a Ross 509 and what it would be. But
Right.
they they spend millions upon millions researching down to, they have those birds as breeders.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a specific way that they have found to maintain those breeders, temperature, lighting, humidity, feed, how much water, pH of the water, all of that stuff to give the optimum time for everything to have the best hatch rate because that's their money.
Do you want to know some little tidbit of information I learned in my class that I just filed away that you made me remember? Um, in the layer houses the eggs have to be moved to the hatchery.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the hatchery, they have to be moved to the poultry houses.
Mm-hmm.
They actually analyze the roads for potholes so
Yep.
they can check for vibration of the eggs. And they know exactly how those trucks should be calibrated and how the roads should be fixed and how long they'll be in the trailer. And there's so much science and money, the amount of money spent on meat birds is unfathomable, really.
Yes.
So it's a
But I
lot.
mean, every drumstick you get from KFC or every pack of whatever you get from the grocery store, that's money.
Exactly.
And they need profit margin. And
Right.
they gotta feed that sucker for 6, 7 weeks. And they gotta make their money back as fast as possible with profit to pay everybody.
Right.
So
All right. So the last leg in research is your own note keeping. Nothing will compare to what is grown on your farm in your environment with your care, with your feed. It won't. That's at the end of the day, that's the most important data.
yeah, because you know, you can find stuff and learn from your mentor and all of that. But if you're not feeding the same thing that your mentor feeds, if you don't spend time with them and care for them the exact same way, you're still going to see different results.
Hmm.
So make notes. I did learn that making those notes, taking a ridiculous amount of pictures, and now with your phone, you can take your phone and take a picture and then go back and edit it and add text and put the wing band or whatever of the bird on it and the date so you know exactly when you took that picture. And to make it even more of a rabbit hole, you can go to your pictures on your phone. And when you start scrolling, you see the search at the bottom. And if you type in a wing band number and that's in a picture, it will find it for you. And it'll let you see the progression if you put the number in the picture like that.
You want to know something? You're going to be so proud of me.
What?
So, little backstory for all of our listeners. When we first started this podcast, I did not have Google Drive or anything and had no freaking clue how to do any of that. Guess what I figured out the other day?
What?
You can download the Google Drive app and you can take pictures right into file folders right in there and then label the pictures with the tag number. And then it doesn't gum up your phone.
I'm proud of you. That would be Jennifer at poultrynerdpodcast.com, who refuses to buy a new phone.
Yes.
She does not have like a 256 or 512 gig phone. She still has like an iPhone, not even a 10.
It has a
Um,
dead spot on it too where your thumb goes and I can't scroll or click on anything when it's right there.
wow. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, she went from being, we'll say, technologically challenged to a really great web person.
Yeah.
If
I'm
you
quite
if
proud of
you
myself.
if you look at the poultrynerdspodcast.com, that's like 99% her. So she has come a long way in these few years.
Yeah.
Make sure you take
Golly.
notes, folks.
Ah. All
Anything
right.
else you have?
I don't have anything.
Like, I mean, I think we've covered all of it. There is one thing that I would like to add.
Oh, but
When you think about housing and where you're going to keep your birds and how many birds you're going to have, if you want to be like Jennifer and only have 50 birds, that's great. You still need to have enough space for about 70 or 80. If you are getting a chicken pen for the first time or a coop for the first time because you want to have, you know, 6 or 8 birds, that's great. Get you a couple of eggs. It needs to be big enough for 15 because chicken math will turn into trigonometry before you know it. And you will either have a ridiculous amount of pens that look way different and drive your OCD up the wall, or you'll do it right the first time.
okay, I'm going to add something too. Did you know that I was doing companion blogs for all of our podcasts now? So, not the same information, but additional information. And
Yeah.
that's at poultrynerdspodcast.com/blog.
So it's kind of like back in the days when you wrote notes And then you got the PS at the bottom.
Yes.
So there's PSs for our blogs,
There
for
you
our
go.
podcast.
Yep.
So y'all check it out. We've got a lot of resources over there on that website. Check it out. And you can also link to the video that we shoot here and see it from our website, or you can find our YouTube channel. Either way.
That's right.
We will see you guys in the comment section.